son. Where'd you find this?
Buckle up, buttercups. It's time to get down to business. Oh, yeah. It's the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. Totally legit.
I always love watching people's reaction to that. Oh, because it's so stupid. Welcome back to the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. I'm your host, James Oliva, and today we've got the enigmatic MOWRI.
Thank you.
It's been a long time coming, bud. We've been trying to coordinate this one for a minute. I'm very happy to finally be able to do this with you.
Yeah, me too. This is great. Thanks for having me, bro.
No, thanks for being on. So, let's just jump right into it here, because you honestly are probably one of the most creatively productive people that I know. I know a lot of people who are insane with their creative production, but you really kind of fucking take the cake. How do you do it? What are your secrets?
I don't know. Constantly thinking about it, not watering yourself down, and truly believing in what you want to accomplish and what you think is right for yourself, and never putting that aside for too long, I guess.
It doesn't get more succinct than that, for sure. Well, and the consistency. Like showing up is 50% of the battle, and it's just you keep showing up, and ultimately you just get better at doing what you're doing and refine your ability to do it. But
yeah,
of all the things that you do, I guess let's just unpack this. Of all the things that you do, what is the thing that you find to be your favorite, and how did you start doing that?
I mean, I love the core nature and the simplicity of playing drums. I just, I've been a drummer since I was, it was a personal calling in a weird way when I was younger. You know how in school, not all schools, but luckily my school had concert band, and it came time to, actually my sister, so I always knew my dad played guitar at a young age. When I was young, I'm talking about 8 or 10 years old. So he played guitar. My sister was playing flute, and she was like getting private lessons and stuff like that. And I was just like, where are my private lessons? So I started concert band, and I started percussion, and I knew I just wanted to play the drum, even just a snare drum, that's kind of how they start you off. And then they like kind of put me in an advanced placement because I was like getting it real quickly. And I was with like my classmates, and we were all kind of competitive about it. So we were like reading music, just like, you're going to fuck up. No, you're going to fuck up.
Yeah,
I'm going to.
Yeah. Real healthy competition. Yeah, real healthy.
Boy competition. Yeah, it was good though. It was driving and pushing me. And so my parents, or my dad, had friends that played music, and my dad used to be in the band when he was younger. But luckily, I grew up. So after that, I was probably like 12, 13, starting to play drum kit, learning how to play with the band, even just playing with my dad and my uncle and his friend. And his friend had like all the equipment and stuff. So that's how they kind of saw the energy. They saw that I was picking it up, and they were like excited about it too, and excited for me. So I'm very like grateful that energy and positivity was there to cultivate.
Definitely. Yep.
And yeah. So I love, just from there, I just have always loved playing drums. And even now when I play with other bands, I like to just be the drummer, I also do a lot of like backing track triggering, or like, I'm the tempo, I'm the click track, which is cool too. But, I love just the drum kit, or just keeping it simple and really feeling it, and being able to like kind of morph with the band live, and have sometimes the tempo can fluctuate, and that's okay, depending on the section. So, but that's among the myriad of things I love doing too, like sound design or producing music.
Well, yeah, those are like probably things that developed out of necessity on the path. Like drumming sounds like the core. That's what started it all, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of paved my way for just being like a attentive listener, a deep listener,
A musician.
Yeah. But also like, yeah, being fully aware of, anything, tonality, dynamics, just kind of.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Be a musician. Like anyone can play music. Very few people are musicians. A lot of people can pick up a guitar and play a guitar. Doesn't necessarily mean it sounds good or it's musical.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing the same cover after like 5-10 years, and it's like, all right, well, how are you pushing yourself to think in a different way or to experiment and,
challenge, try something harder. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And it's funny that you say like that competition thing. Like, I think that's, well, it's two things. It sounds like you came from a household that embraced music, at least at a bare minimum.
Definitely.
And that is a huge one up. But then also getting into a healthy level of competition with trying to outperform. I don't know. I feel like that. I've always felt like the actual collaborative competition, like, hey, let's all just really get after each other and make each other the best we can be. I don't know. I think that's super fucking valuable. Instead of just like the other type of competition where it's constant undercutting and sabotaging.
Yeah, no, it's like, I love the musical, like creative competition where you're like, oh, you weren't expecting that, were you? But like, how did you handle it? Like it's kind of like this healthy form of, I want to keep you on your toes, or like, how do you adjust? Because being a musician, you're constantly adjusting. If anything, I noticed my skill level of adjusting as quick as possible, so I'm hearing something and I'm completely call and response, like adjusting my mind and my playing and to it right away. And I think that's, you play music with someone for years, it's going to start feeling like you're reading each other's mind. You're kind of like anticipating things or not. You're adjusting very quickly to what they do. And so then that it feels like a gel, it feels really nice.
What would you say were like the records or bands, excluding battles? Like what were the records that led you to battles? Or like what were the records that you heard your parents listen to and you're like, oh man, that's fucking sick. I want to hear more of that.
I don't know if I had that much energy about what they were listening to, but
you didn't like anything they listened to?
No, I totally did. And they had good taste. They're like, they're Salvadoran, but they came to the States pretty early on. They were like 20 years old. So of course the American influence was already big over there. So like, Beatles.
A lot of those artists already existed.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
As well as America.
Yeah, so they already knew, and then coming into the States, it opened up even more. So it was a cool mix of like Latin American artists and American artists. I have memory of, Miami Sound Machine, Gloria Estefan, like them playing that CD in the kitchen, and just like the energy and the percussion was like, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. What's going on here? Like as me, I was probably like 8 years old. I don't know, 7. So I was like, wow.
I just imagine you walking in at 8 years old with that mustache. Like, hey, what's going on here? I don't know what this is, but I like it.
Just start salsa dancing. Yeah. And then the other side of that was like America, like my dad had this America CD, and like Horse with No Name was one thing, but that whole album is very beautiful. And I remember hearing it, and then even years later, maybe when I was a teenager or like 20 or something, I like grabbed it again and like played it in my room and was just like really ingesting it. And I just, it's stunning. Like it's just everything, the production, the songwriting, the audio engineering. Like I'd love to see where they recorded that, in what studio. And so stuff like that, a lot of different, other Latin American people like Julio Iglesias or, but yeah, like also like even soul stuff, like, the Four Tops or like, yeah. So they were like pretty, I gotta say, I'm like impressed by how they didn't let like culture,
Yeah, they were up to speed with whatever
Yeah.
was going on here. Yeah.
Yeah, they're listening to everything, especially my dad. Yeah.
I feel like it's a crucial component. I mean, definitely having parents who encourage art or act in art in some way themselves is big. But there's a whole ton of music that I don't necessarily gravitate towards immediately, but it's still music that I love, and it's music that helped like develop my lexicon of musicality.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll listen to 50s doo-wop any day.
Yeah.
Like, give me an oldies, like that kind of oldies radio station. I'll put that on all the time. I love that shit.
Yeah.
But it's because my dad, that's the music that was what was popular when my dad was a kid. So he would always put on their oldies station. If I hadn't listened to that, my understanding of music would be much different than it is. I don't know. It's just funny how those things, over time. And I mean, this, like, you play with enough people, you watch enough musicians, the people that are the best are the people who have at least heard what is out there.
Yeah.
They'll listen to something, even if it's not what they're going to listen to forever. They'll still listen to it and ingest it, and I don't know, pick it apart musically and try and fold that into their whatever they do, singing, playing drums.
Yeah. I think like listening is the biggest part of, being like open-minded, flexible, knowledgeable musician. And yeah, I think back then I was just like, I could tell my dad was really into sound and music. Like he also had the sound system and the receiver with the turntable and the cassette tapes and the EQ and
the hi-fi
shit. Yeah. He would like, but I like distinctly remember just seeing him like listening, like deep listening, like putting it together, playing it, standing back, like he already knew like listening position and stereo field, and we're just taking it in, and I would just look at him like,
what are you doing?
like, Dad, it's really loud. So, but yeah, like that's like, he's probably not surprised that I'm an engineer now, and just getting like music really took over like my life and my passion. And my first CD, you want to know my first compact disc?
Let's hear it.
Limp Bizkit, Significant Other.
Sick, dude.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, dude, that shit rocked. And it's so funny because, I was like getting in, my sister was also into music. Like she was listening to Green Day and shit, like she had Dookie. She had.
Your sister's older than you, right?
Yeah. So she's like about 5 years older than me.
Dude, that's my sister the same. She also gave me Dookie. Like that's how I got that record. It was a tape, and it was like I'm done with this, and she gave it to me.
You're like, whoa,
what?
Forever
They
changed.
said, damn it! Oh my god!
And they're playing like fast as fuck too. Like, yeah.
That was like that was peak Green Day right there.
Yeah, man.
But anyways.
Yeah. But she also had a huge. I mean, she had Lenny Kravitz 5. She had like Aqua. She had Backstreet Boys, obviously.
Boys to Men.
I don't know. She had TLC for sure.
Who didn't?
Yeah, such a good album. The red cover has how many albums do they have? I don't even know.
TLC.
They didn't have many. I feel like, yeah. But yeah, so that eclecticism and just like my exposure to that at such a young age.
Damn, bro, they have 5 studio albums.
Crazy.
13 compilation albums.
I mean, that makes sense.
And 6 video albums.
Wow.
That's shocking.
Yeah, dig back in. I was like, they probably just have 2 albums, but anyways.
They got a whole catalog.
So yeah, I would just like, I don't know what exposed me to, I probably just heard it on the radio, like Limp Bizkit. And what's funny is that my dad got me, so it was Christmas, so he got me by accident, he got me the Kid Rock CD.
Devil Without a Cause.
Yeah, like the one with like, my name is Kid.
Yeah, sure.
Which is like, that drummer slayed too. Like she was badass.
She was badass. Yeah.
She was so badass. But I just distinctly remember being like, "Is this the one you wanted?" I was like, "No, I wanted Limp Bizkit." He like returned it and got me Limp Bizkit. But from there, obviously, like Korn, you know, so many. I'm trying to think. I used to have like my sister's like ex from high school burn me CDs, and you know, I was like Disturbed, Static X, like 311, Rage Against the Machine. You know, all the
highlights. Yeah, those are essentials. Highlights. Those are fucking essentials.
So Linkin Park, like, but definitely Rage. I mean, Rage Against the Machine, like, that was just like, I don't know, that changed my life. Yeah, it just
for sure.
You know, and I quickly got all the CDs and was just fully immersed. I was buying like the live DVDs, blasting them in like my parents' basement, and just like being like, "Oh my god!" Yeah.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Fuck. It's like jumping around being like, little did I know how horrible shit really was. I was like, yeah, fuck authority, man. And like, I don't know. It's hard for me to think about like what I was definitely reading the lyrics, but also some of it was just going over my head, and I just love the imagery. I love the poeticism of it all, and you know, started questioning shit. And then high school came, and I went to Catholic high school, and I was just like, oh,
jeez.
I was like, this ain't it. This
really
ain't
repressing a lot of energy here.
Yeah. Exactly, dude. Oh my God. Some professors were great, and then some people were just like
the worst. Literally the worst. Like the worst, the pinnacle of bad.
Dude, there's this like she had like short white hair, the whitest hair I've ever seen in my life. Her name was Sister Elizabeth, and she was, you know, I guess a sister. She was some kind of nun, apparently.
That or a witch. Can't tell.
Yeah. She wasn't dressed like a nun. Like she was, you know,
a witch.
Retired from a nun.
Yeah, she's a witch. That's what witches do.
She was evil. She would like float around. Like you wouldn't hear her walking around, and you'd just be like, oh. She'd show up right here like, what are you doing?
Did she have a ruler? She hit you guys?
No.
We're out of that already.
Yeah. This was like
bummer.
Yes, that was not allowed, thankfully. But this was high school. I was probably like a sophomore or something. This was like, I don't know, early 2000s. But she did not like me. I was like,
why?
You're probably racist.
But well, I mean, yes. Okay, number one.
You were born in 1900.
Number two, why? Like, why? What was her fucking deal?
She like picked favorites, and actually, my sister went to the same school, so she was there before me, and I think she kind of liked my sister. My sister was very like, you know. She was doing like multiple sports, like super
top achiever.
And you know, I don't know if it had to do with like, I don't know, whatever.
The rebellious younger brother came in, and I just couldn't stand him. First day I met him, he goes, "Fuck you! I won't do what you tell."
I got my Rage Against the Machine patches on my backpack from Hot Topic. Like
that is so funny. It's so I lived that same experience, dude. That's so fucking hilarious. I also think it's I go into this a bunch on this show, but I think it's hilarious how nu metal came out and it was like an international thing, and then everyone shit on it for 10 years, and now it's like coming back to being popular again. And I just think it should never be overstated that some of those records, like, they really affected metal and heavy music going forward.
Oh yeah, a lot of even like post-punk and like like a lot of stuff. It affected a lot of things.
It just never made sense to me why it got I guess people just got sick of it, but I don't know. Like,
yeah, I mean it was definitely popular. Like it got big really fast, which is cool. Like there was like a lot of music festivals.
TRL. That when that was still a thing.
Lollapalooza, like Vans Warped Tour, like all that stuff. Like I remember having like Warped Tour compilation CDs, and like, I mean, that's a little bit more punk, but you know, like what was it? Oh, Family Values tour.
Yeah,
that shit was crazy. I
That
mean,
was the
not that I
crazy.
went because I was like a child, but
I saw the DVDs. I can't remember what year it is, but all I remember is the guys from Rammstein like pulling out a fake dick and spraying simulated jizz all over the stage.
nice. Yeah, man.
And they were the opener. That was the opener.
Yeah. So I think people that weren't into that were just like, oh, what is this? What is this rebellious energy? Like, we don't want none of that. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me feel uncomfortable because I'm so normal. I don't know. I like to abide by the rules, and I think this is the best country ever, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, sadly,
Like-
that is most people in this country. You know, that the numbers support that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just, they want to toe the line. I'd
Yeah.
say that's probably reflective worldwide. Like, very few people, the rebellious folks are always the minority in that respect.
True. Yeah.
Because
They
most people don't like to deal with the discomfort of, like, I remember, dude, just wearing a band's patch, that would get me ridicule, get me called all sorts of names by teachers.
Yeah.
Sometimes teachers would say some shit.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know.
Same. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's really interesting. And, but now, I don't know. Yeah. I think now there's a lot to respect from that music. Like, it's not like it was like recorded to like shitty tape and badly mixed and stuff. It's like, there's a lot of art to it. Like, to start, just like the style blendings and it being new and different and being creative and merging genres, multiple genres. And then, like, I love that era of like CD recording, like,
dude, it was great.
Yeah.
And honestly, some of the coolest production stuff,
Yeah.
like that I remember, even like all the Ross Robinson shit that isn't necessarily like sparkly produced. It's very raw.
yeah,
But even just how it was produced like that, it captured that energy in a way that a more polished recording wouldn't have. But
exactly.
even the bands with like more polished, people still, that's at a period at a time where people were still putting large amounts of money into producing records. You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
was that was the record industry was still alive then.
Yeah, it was booming.
Yeah, sure was. Sure
Along
was
with
back then.
tours and merchandise, and yeah, a lot has changed.
But don't you think that the cards, as fucked up as they are, the option that people have to own, control, release, and distribute themselves, because really, like, before the internet existed, that's what the record label had the chokehold on, the stream. They controlled the pipelines.
Yeah,
And when the internet came around, they didn't control the pipelines anymore. People had direct access to everyone else in the world, direct to consumer. So, like, don't you think really that maybe the budgets aren't the same? Maybe the type of money that was flowing through it isn't the same? I mean, maybe it is. But don't you think that there is some kind of advantage to what we have now?
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
okay,
absolutely.
I don't know. We can get into the whole stream thing, even though I hear they just signed something to raise the rate that people get paid on streams or something. Or there's like a bill that they're trying to get passed.
Yeah.
But
Well, who knows?
Maybe you sent me that. I think you sent me something about that. Maybe.
Yeah. There's
I don't
an
know.
organization. What's it called? We Are MAW or something. MAAUW. But they're doing a lot of great stuff, and you can sign petitions and to raise the streaming rate per play. Because 0.0003 ain't really cutting it. And it's just like the whole prospect of it all. It's like there should be something more fair for people, especially if that's the era we're going to be in now. We're going to stay in, right? Like,
Yeah.
doing everything yourself, like, which there are upsides. Yes, there's pros and cons. But it's not simple. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. So in theory, it's like there's less investors in music, I guess, right? So there's less people don't want to take a chance on your music if you don't have many plays, or they're not seeing you actively do things. They're not seeing you on TikTok. They're not, God, I can't believe my girlfriend's calling me right now. I literally told her. Yeah, but no, there's definitely pros and cons. I mean, I love, as an artist, and I started as a visual artist, I love, I kind of like doing everything myself. It does overwhelm me sometimes. It does make me take longer to finish things. Like I have to edit my video, or I have to, I also reach out to collaborators and people that I really enjoy their work, and they like working with me, so it's nice. It's always nice to work with other people, even if you're a solo artist. Just collaborating.
Collaboration is a huge, that's not to be understated. Just honestly, collaborating for the sake of collaborating. That's the only reason I do this shit. Is I can't. You're right. You can do everything yourself. I've done that, and it's not fun. It's not really rewarding.
It's fun for a little bit, and then it gets not that fun.
It's not that fun, really. For the bulk of it, it's not that fun. And when you're collaborating with somebody, it's just the experience is just. I don't know. I'm also a firm believer of there's only so much I can do, right? Yeah. But if I and another person who's equally driven on the same end goal can. Come together here to make this happen, it's going to be better. It's going to be better than what I can do by myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. Collaboration can't be understated. I think that's why we do this shit.
Yeah. And even with a band, it's obvious. But when you're a solo artist, it's like there's this one track that I aim to have out at the end of April. And it's I had someone else master it, because I've done mastering too, but I'm I need different perspectives on this.
Have another set of ears, yeah.
Another set of ears, even just playing it to your friends or your partner and seeing what they think about it, and what kind of, because you're kind of in this little box when you're creating and you're making something, and then people will see, because music gives you visuals in your mind, and people will see totally different things and tell you what they see or how it makes them feel. And you're like, wow, I like that, and that's valid. And maybe I should let that steer the artwork or what the song's about. Because sometimes you make things and you're like, to be honest, I don't know what the fuck this is about.
It's here, but I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what's the story to this? Does it need a story? Not necessarily, but it helps to curate a little bit of a story behind it, So I like that, and it kind of helps with the artwork, because it helps with anything, the post you want to make or when you release it, all these different factors. Yeah. What do you think?
I think ultimately it is, they don't control the pipeline anymore. So ultimately, we've seen this over the course of the past 15 years as this shift was taking place. So many artists who ultimately may end up getting a major label contract, they didn't start that way. They built this massive following. They had a couple tracks or a record blow up, and they've been able to take what they were doing in their room to a full-fledged business that then they actually have some leverage when negotiating some kind of contract with a major record label. And just the general sharing of knowledge, I feel like a lot of this has forced a lot of people who make music or create art and want to monetize it, but don't want to get into the minutia of music publishing or what it means to own your masters. Those things are now just common knowledge for the most part around people who release music.
Right.
That information is just more widely discussed because of how many stories we've heard of people getting boned over or boning over the industry because they knew how to manage the administrative portion of trying to, sell music or create music like that. So I think it's all good things. and it empowers people who do what we do to do what we do. You know, like the ability for us to, you know, maybe our music isn't going to get Drake streams, but it's on the same platforms. You know,
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, yeah,
you know,
the exposure.
The people that are looking for shit. The other thing I love about the internet too is the niche. You don't need a billion fucking streams. You need a couple thousand people who really like what you're doing and are willing to fucking buy the shit you put out. That's all you need. That can make you enough money to where you're paying your bills with music. That's what's so cool about the internet. It's like, especially, for me, for sure, because I do not make mainstream media art music. It's all niche shit. But the internet allows the ability, you know, people find the stuff that I've created. You know,
I mean,
I don't have to be constantly on the road. I don't need to be breaking my body or my bank in one way or another. I know how to record. I know how to release music. And I just, for the people out there that are into the music that I'm into, cool.
Yeah.
You know, that's a kind of freedom that, you know, in the history of music business, the artist never had. So I think ultimately it's a good thing.
Yeah, the upper hand of not having to have only physical media, right? Like shipping, meeting someone, giving them something. Everything's like, you know, easily accessible now.
Well, and even, dude, I know you're probably up on this, but like direct to consumer shit now is crazy. Like you don't even have to make t-shirts. You can just have your design preloaded on a website and someone orders a t-shirt and that t-shirt in that sign
I don't know. I feel sketchy about I mean, that's fine.
I'm not suggesting everybody do
but
that.
Like,
I'm
how's
saying,
the
like,
quality, you know?
It might not be great. It might not be great. But again, we're not talking about making the most high quality thing. We're talking about, I don't have $1,000 to pre-order 200 t-shirts.
No, of course.
I can't do that. I can't afford that. I'm an independent artist. Just the ability that those types of things exist in the abundance that they do, I think is just, I don't know. It's good shit. There's so many artists in the past 10 years that have, Billie Eilish.
What about her?
From fucking her bedroom. Her and her brother from her bedroom. She's winning Grammys.
Oh, yeah.
She is the voice of her generation. That's, you know, and I'm not a huge fan of Billie Eilish's music, but whatever. Clearly,
it sounds great. Yeah.
She makes great popular music that a lot of people, it resonates with a lot of people, and nobody would have heard about her if it was up to the fucking labels. It was the internet that made that decision.
No, definitely.
You see what I mean? Like, that's why, to me, that's why it's so valuable that we have that now, is because the internet can make the decisions. The people can actually.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. I like that perspective.
And, you know.
Yeah, because also you don't have to wait around for a label or like have to. It's like asking someone for permission to just exist.
Labels have always reacted. They've always reacted. A band will blow up, and then they will get signed, and then every label will just start signing bands that sound like that band. Nirvana, grunge, every shift in music. It's always been that way. They're always the labels aren't up to fucking speed. The people always decide what is the popular thing. The labels react to it. This band's making all this money at these shows. We need to be making some of that money at these shows. The band can't be making all this. We have to make some. Like mafia shit. I mean, I'm sure if we dug into the history of the industry itself, I'm sure we'd find some pretty strong connections there. Yeah. Especially in New York. But I don't know. Again, the point of what I'm saying is like the flexibility that we have and what even, I mean, you and I know this better than most people. Recording technology, bro. Like, we can do more on our computers. We have more computing power on our computers than Led Zeppelin or the Beatles or anybody ever had. And anymore, this shit just, it sounds almost completely indistinguishable from analog gear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty insane that like I'm using a laptop right now and I can have Pro Tools with like literally 80 tracks just going. Like, that's, to think about back in the day and how things were, it's kind of insane, you know.
Well, even just when we started, like my first version of Pro Tools was Pro Tools 7 LE. Like it wasn't even the full version of Pro Tools. And you were super restricted on not only what you could do in the software, but what your computer could handle. Plugins sounded like shit. They sounded fucking terrible. But in just the past 10 years, I mean, that shit is indistinguishable. That's all super exciting stuff to me, dude. Like even just the ability that we can have spaces. It used to cost people hundreds of thousands of dollars just to maintain a space to record music. Mm-hmm. And now, like, guarantee most records people hear, they're not recorded in studios like that.
Yeah.
So
come to my studio.
That's what I'm saying. Go ahead and give that a shout out. We're looking at the command center itself right now. But I mean, I guess maybe that might be a good segue. Why don't you expand upon, how you got into doing that, winning the Emmy, like all the things that kind of developed as you started to explore the creative, your creative mind outside of the drum set, but in the technology. You know what I mean? Because again, I know a lot of people that play a lot of music and they play a lot of shows, and I know a lot of people that do a lot of production or event production. I know very few people that do all of those things simultaneously. Right. So, how do you keep it fresh? Is it the rotation that allows you to keep it fresh? And, how do you utilize the technology to enhance playing shows, writing, recording, sound designing, all that stuff?
Yeah. So I guess picking up from being like falling into drums and actually just wanting to be a drummer, the necessity of being young and having the ability to go to college and study things, and I kind of just fell into I was definitely driven by sound and creative sound. So I was like, if I'm gonna do a digital form of art, I want to do sound design. I want to learn how to make sound good.
When did you first start experimenting with recording? Like when was the first time you had hands-on experimenting recording on?
So I went to VCU in Richmond, Virginia, like a art school, and went to the School of the Arts there and focused on kinetic imaging, which was like this weird major that had, in a weird and a good way, I had animation, video, and sound all combined.
Yeah.
So, and like at the time, I don't know, I was like young and I just wanted to play music. So I was still playing bands and like playing live when I was in college, obviously. And I think other people would record me sometimes. But I, bought this Tascam DR1, like this little handy
Old
recorder.
School. Nice.
Yeah. I still have it, dude.
Right there.
I still have it's like it's pretty cute. It looks kind of retro.
Tank.
It looks like 90s. But and it was actually and I would just take that on vacation. I would take it around. I would record rehearsals, anything. And that was cool. Just, getting into like field recording or any kind of recording in general. But I didn't actually start learning recording techniques until I did my master's in Edinburgh. And that was in sound design, but that program was also very like open-ended recording, sound design for animation, whatever, but also like experimental shit like Max MSP, and I was experimenting with drum triggers, and I was like, let me try my hand at programming and if I can make my own solo performance, and that's what I did. That was my dissertation. But they had these little studios in the basement, and they had nice mics. You could just rent them out, or you could just
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah. I'll get a pair of 184s, okay, and then I'm gonna go downstairs and just like record some shit, record some drums. And then they had a bunch of stuff. They had like, shotgun mics. I think they had like a Sheps. They had a bunch of stuff. And that's when I started learning like, okay, like what is headroom? What is noise floor? What is, how do I coil a cable? Like simple stuff like that. Or what's the best distance to put this microphone in, and things of that nature. So that was really cool and really I'm grateful for that experience. Yeah, so I kind of was like studying, you know, learning different aspects of sound and working within that sound. Always playing music, always meeting musicians, meeting artists, performers, dancers, anything. And then I knew I wanted to live in New York. I like actually didn't really want to come back to the States, and I was in Edinburgh. I was like, how do I like stay
here? Yeah.
stay here, stay or go to Europe, you know? And it was just hard for me to find like work that was like affiliated to my craft and my career. So I came back to the States, and I was just like applying to work, and I was thinking about West Coast and New York, to be honest. And something bit, you know, I had like it was actually a podcast, the first job I had in New York. It was like a leftist activist podcast called The Flaming Sword of Justice.
Sick.
Yeah. And it was pretty dope. It was like, you know, grassroots type stuff, or like more so like activists coming on and talking about their cause, and I would record them. And you know, we were using like, it was in a tiny office in like Prospect Park and like Park Slope, and like a Mackie mixer, and like, you know, using like 58s, yeah,
bare bones.
a wooden table and a wooden chair, like like, you know, and then I would edit it, and just like, I think I was editing in Ableton because I had like just learned how to use Ableton.
Sure.
So I was like editing in Ableton. They would upload the episode. You know, I was very like in it, and like, oh, this is cool. I got a like full-time job, like, you know. And the pay was at,
Did you say it like that in your head too?
yeah, I literally remember, because like the pay was pretty good back then. I was like, oh, I'm in New York and I got like a job.
I'm a real boy. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. And then, you know, go on dates and be like, yeah, I'm an audio engineer. But that was a cool like starting, and just like from there, like learning the different aspects of like production, because I also started working live events. That was just out of necessity, to be honest. I was like, I need to make some money.
Right
like,
there with you.
Like that podcast job was like, oh, we actually have to move to DC. Do you want to come with us? And I was like, no, I don't. Like, I don't want to go back to DC. Like, I'm from Northern Virginia, so I was like,
I just left there.
I just left that area.
I just got out of there.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to just focus on politics. So I was like, eh. So, and another thing that's cool is that was my first, like, me trying to prove people that I could do sound design, you know, in like a work setting. So, you know, that podcast, he'd ask for certain things. Like, I made like the flaming sword sound, and he changed the name later. His name is Ben Wickler. I believe he's a part of MoveOn.org now, and he changed the name to A Good Fight. And so I was doing all this stuff to kind of be like, hey, like I can do this, like check it out. And that job left, I started working for events, just as an audio assistant, like literally like running cable, like working. We would have big gigs at like Museum of Natural History and museums and stuff, and I would just like, you know, big ass. It's just labor. I was doing gaff tape
and running cable.
I was avoiding the ladders. I was like, you know, and I still do some of that, to be honest. But like that was me just working to be an artist and a musician in New York, and at the same time like getting gigs for audiobooks, like going to, you know, working at studios, and you know, seeing how weird they are, because I don't know. It's cool, but it's like the vibe is different.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah. So, you know, audiobooks, and then I got like a cool sound design studio gig, and that was based in Hell's Kitchen, called Explosion Robinson, and that's a good homie of mine, Stephen Herman. He was like the founder, creative director, and was literally like just running his own studio by himself, and he had, you know, 2 isolated studios adjacent to each other, and he had the bigger one and I had the smaller one, and it was like a blast. We were just working on little commercials or anything, teasers, promos, and just like bouncing ideas off each other. He taught me a lot for sure, and I would help him out a lot because he was busy with a lot of different things. So that was a great experience. And also, he knew I was a drummer. He was he's super
pro music.
Yeah, just pro music, and would let me leave my drums there. And like one time, like at the end of the day,
he was down for the cause.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Recorded some drums there. We did some little spots, whatever. So that was a great experience. I've just kind of, and I don't know, New York is a fleeting place. It's a very like I have employers that probably think I was like not that great, and then I have employers that are like, "Oh, he's amazing," like and it's just
really
like
is funny how that works out.
It's hilarious, and
I'm sure Audible thought that about both of us.
They're like, "Wait, who was that?" They like totally forget about us. Like,
yeah, oh, definitely.
I mean, you give us a desk and a PC, and you have to push titles. Like, it's like it depends on the work you're doing. It depends like the energy you give. How much you care. Like, if you're a business owner, like, I don't know. It's interesting, but like New York is like that. It's very much, there's always new talent. There's always new people. There's new transplants. There's new, backgrounds, new resumes,
there's also always new jobs.
Oh, we want to save money. We want to keep saving money and squeezing money out of you until the longest we can, until you're tired of it and you want to leave. Like, we want to, like, fuck that.
Yeah, no,
it's dude, it's true capitalists,
Yeah, this place is like the savage epicenter of the capitalist mindset.
It really is.
That's it is as cutthroat as everyone always said it was. Even today,
which is cool. Like, that made me think faster and made me adjust.
Well, what we were talking about before, a little bit of that. This is a little more of the more aggressive competition, but it ultimately is the sense of competition. Yeah, and that you're in a place where everyone is competing for the best opportunity, and that makes you, just by nature of being surrounded by that at all times, it makes you you're doing that.
Yeah.
You're doing that you're trying to get that seat on the subway. You're trying to merge on the fucking highway. You're trying to get that
find the best apartment.
Dude, yeah, exactly. No, it is that way, and it makes people, it makes you do that in just about every area of your life.
Yeah. So, I guess like you mentioned the Emmy and
what leads you to the Emmy? So you're doing a bunch of stuff as Explosion Robinson. You're having a great time.
I'm playing music. Actually, someone I used to play music with was like an actress and like was in theater a little bit, so they had some theater connections. And I remember actually quitting Audible right when I like left. Audible was like full-time, permalance, like hourly rate, not salary, not benefits.
9-month contract.
9-month contract. You go to Jersey for it. Like, it was a pain to get there for me. But then like my supervisor would let me work like 6 hours a day, and I could put 8 down still, and like that kind of job. So I like left that thinking that my freelance was picking up, and then it kind of wasn't, because I had been there working 6-9 months. So at the time, this partner I was with and like ex-collaborator put me onto theater, and like because they just saw that I needed work, and I started working with a playwright that just needed like a reading. It was not even a full play production. It was like actors in a room reading their lines, getting used to the role, and they wanted a djembe player. And I was like, I literally bought a djembe for that. I was like, I want a djembe. Hell
Commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, about this acrylic djembe, and like, and then I was just also like, again, sneaking in like, hey, I can do sound design. Like, you want some sound design? Because I also had the SPD. I would use that for our live sets. So I had the drum pad, and I was like, I can put some sound design in there. What you need, just trying to impress. And like, when you're kind of trying to get work, you want to impress people, obviously, because it's like first impressions, and like also you're driven and you want to do it, you want to experiment, you want to test yourself. So I was putting sound design on this drum pad, and we did the reading, and it was like a performance. It was cool. There was probably like 60 people there, and I played djembe and I had the script and I was triggering sounds and they loved it. And, low paying gig, but it's like, it doesn't, at that point, it wasn't about the money. It was
Well, it's
about
the credit. Yeah.
Yeah, the credit, experiencing it.
Here's what I add to a production. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the end, it's about the connections, because then I met, a bunch of actors, a bunch of other playwrights, and then that playwright wants to recommend me to another one. And, I soon started working with a really great director, David Mendizabal. I love David, and, David started as like a costume designer, like seamstress, and then went into theater directing. And I basically did like multiple productions with David. And this was like 2019. He asked me to score and sound design this play in Cherry Lane Theater. It's a nice, cute theater, and like so bad at like New York City sometimes, but it's like not like, it's like West Village, I think, is where it is. And the score was like, so they were like, oh yeah, so this playwright, it's a one-man play, so it's monologue, and he's amazing. His name is Kareem Lucas, and he was just playing Miles Davis' Bitches Brew in the background. Can you do that? So I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. And I was just like, legit, in my Ridgewood apartment, like, okay, let me just listen to things, listen to Bitches Brew, let me just improv. I started improvising drums, recorded a bunch, like literally like an hour of just drums. Like I worked backwards. So then I got an amazing trumpet player, Aquiles Navarro of Irreversible Entanglements. Got him to come over, laid some trumpet. I literally did trumpet first. And then and this was all like out of necessity, out of timeline. Like, oh, Aquiles is going to Europe like tonight. Let me record him right now. And then I get like an upright bass player, also amazing, Nick Joswiak, who I had been performing with live. And then I get, sax, I get bass clarinet, I get, another time I got trombone. So, and then I just start arranging, and again in Ableton, just like, and then in theater, it's kind of crazy because they're like, so we have this moment, like, you're kind of composing, it's like a film, and sometimes you have to work pretty fast.
Sure.
And, you're creating the emotion of a section, you're creating the mood. So I did that, and I still want to release that music. I have not released it, and I made it in like 2019. It's been 5 years, but it was there in the shelves. It's about 45 minutes of like experimental, kind of avant, funky, weird jazz.
Hell yeah.
And I love that experience, and everyone was like, what the fuck, you made this? Which is cool. But I was like, of course I made it. Like, I wanted to make this for myself too, like I took the project and I made it my own project. And that kind of like led me to keep going with either composition or just sound design within theater. So with David, I'm getting to the Emmy. I'm almost there. So with David, I worked with this amazing choreographer, Jeremy McQueen. And this was for like a play in, what was it? Vassar College, I believe. In Powerhouse Theater. It was called The Bandage Place. And Jeremy so I have a single out now called The Bandage Place, and that's the piece I created for that dance number, that dance piece, dance section, because it's like a play with dance moments and acting, obviously, and drama. So I met Jeremy, and Jeremy runs the Black Iris Project. So that's like a, contemporary, like queer-centered ballet, contemporary dance company. And Jeremy is amazing, and I loved working with him. COVID happened, right? So Jeremy was like, hey, I'm creating like a short film, and I'm producing, directing it, choreographing it, and we have all these dancers, and it's called Wild, Wild Act 1, and it's focused on kind of like portraying the perspective and also the background life of, you know, a youth or a kid in juvenile detention center.
This is it, right?
Yeah, that's the page. So that's Act 1 right there. Yeah. So it's kind of, and like, this is beautiful, right? So this is supposed to take place in like a detention center, juvenile detention center, and that's him speaking to his mother. But of course, there's no dialogue. It's all music. It's all dancing and, you know, emotive acting. So you're kind of moving to your emotions and your message. So I was like, cool. And he was like, you know, he got a handful of composers, and he wanted me to compose, which I think was perfect. He picked me for like one of the angstiest, like, rebellion sections, because it's like you're seeing the life of this. You saw him there, Elijah. He's like kind of like the protagonist of kind of going through these motions, dealing with like security and police brutality and like isolation and a hard, like, you know, upbringing. And Jeremy also like grabbed a lot of the words from, you know, these juveniles that were detained and like their perspective and things they've gone through, and like
life imitating art. Yeah.
Exactly, life imitating art, and like really getting like being real about it. Like, you know, who are these people? These people are people, and they have their own lives, and they have these systemic struggles that are not always their fault, you know? So you're seeing this, you know, this protagonist kind of go through things. And then I created Prevent Your Choke, and that was for a section where there's actually 4 of them, and they're like in a classroom setting. So there's like old school kind of tables, like classroom tables, and they're like so tired of it. They start like ripping up the papers, like dancing around. And it's like a mix of like, you know, my track is playing in the background. It's like a mix of like hip hop, ballet, like, you know, more like urban kind of like dance styles. Yeah. And then I made my own music video because I was like, who's that freak? So that was me, like, when was this? 2021 or something. And
damn, bro, you look like Bane. Look at those fucking shoulder muscles.
Yeah,
damn,
dog.
bro.
I was like, gotta look ripped with the beer belly a little bit.
No, but you know, again, this is what I'm saying. Like, most people, this is a lot. Like, most people just don't get here. Like, you've got the wherewithal to do all these things.
I mean, and I feel grateful too. You know, it's not.
Well, I'm not saying you do it in a bubble, but what I'm saying is that very few people, bro, a lot of people talk about making music. Very few people release it. A lot of people talk about, a lot of bands who release music talk about making music videos. Very few people film them.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
and that bums me out. You know, it bums.
Well, but I mean, you know from your experience how fucking hard that is. And in some ways it's cost prohibitive. Some people don't have the skills or the expertise, so they have to go to somebody who's going to charge them some insane amount of money that's just that they do not have or can afford. So that's I guess why I will always go back to be like that's why it's good to know how to do some of this shit by yourself. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's good to acquire the knowledge, and if you get to work with other people and not have to do everything by yourself, sometimes great, but
yeah. And that's why I like experimenting with drum triggers. I'm glad I can produce my own music. I can record it, I can mix it, you know? Or I can have someone else mix it, and that's fine too, but you know, it's a fact of being self-sufficient, being self-driving and DIY, and you know, because in that sense, like we said, there's pros and cons, but you can also completely take all creative direction. You can like really make it the way you want it to be.
Yep.
You know,
there isn't some fucking sponsor or corporate asshole over your shoulder telling you what you can and can't say. Yeah, for sure.
Or even like some nightmare engineer that's like, I think this works better, you know, or like, and there's a shitload of reverb or whatever, something you don't want. And, you know, so it's like taking control of that.
I think that honestly is the reason I learned how to do this shit myself, is because I didn't want to have to deal with, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
I'll just do it myself. I don't want to have to explain this to you.
Same. And even like bands are hard, because
Yeah, they sure are.
I love being in a band, and I always want to be in one. But like, damn, like it's like
a lot of work,
It's like a
especially-
second family, literally.
Bro, well, okay, here, wait. We are at the hour mark, and this is absolutely... We need to go on this tangent because I have so many thoughts about this, especially doing it in New York. But we're going to wrap up the first hour here for the folks on YouTube. If you want to catch the rest, catch us on the Patreon at TLB Podcast for extra legitimate business. MOWRI, you want to give a shout out of your websites, links, things that you want people to know about before we get done. And then I'll, of course, put all that stuff in the description link to the episode, but floor is yours.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so it's MOWRI. It's weird spelling, but it's like a nickname for me, MOWRI. And my website is MOWRIchops.com, and I'm on Spotify and all the streaming stuff. I also have Bandcamp. Yeah, I have a
And
YouTube.
you're also on YouTube too.
I'm on YouTube. I need to add some more stuff on there, but yeah, you can see the music video.
Do you have a link tree?
I have a link tree. I have all that stuff that's necessary to be an artist. Yes.
All right, sweet. Yeah. And again, I will put all of those links in the description wherever you're consuming this. Thank you for coming on the show. We're going to play this outro, but stay on, and then we'll just move right into the next portion.
Dope.
All right, folks.
Thank you, man.
We're out of here.
Hey. Bruh.
This has been the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. The end. With your host, James Oliva. Executive producers, Clint G and James Oliva.
That's obnoxious.
Sound design, mix, and master by James Oliva.
Literally no one cares.
For more Totally Legitimate Business, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Totally Legitimate Business or add us on TikTok at TLB Pod.
When will this end?
Thank you for listening. Now get back to work.
Move it along, buddy.